Do you think, as humans, will our brains actually develop resistance to overstimulation, or will they develop an ability to kind of like cut it all off?
The brain is kind of the same as years and years and years ago. Technology is not, as you just said. But what happens is the brain wants to keep us safe and has a certain capacity of information it can go through in a healthy way. And that also says, have you slept enough, Wojtek? Have you had enough rest? Is it a morning or is it an evening of your day? So evening is always harder to get any information from anyone, right?
Hello, welcome to Imagination Day, 12th edition of Imagination Day and its accompanying podcast brought to life by Papaya Films. My name is Wojtek Kawalik. I am the founder and creative director of Playground Warsaw, and I am here to talk with Natalia Talkowska, CEO and founder of NATALKA. Natalka, great having you here. I hope you are enjoying your time. Brilliant keynote. I'm going to ask you a few questions for our viewers and listeners.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm excited as well. So, I've seen your keynote, and it's such a brilliant presentation. You've touched on so many different subjects that we probably could be talking for hours about this. But because we have just literally 10 minutes, I'm going to ask you a few questions. And the first one is about something that really, I think, kind of like moved me with your presentation. That was the specific quote that we are wired for progress, we are exhausted by it as well. Would you like to elaborate on that?
It's a big one. Whenever I say this one, it gets the most photos, it gets the most nods if I can see the audience, and so it resonates. And I always think, it can't just be me feeling that or seeing that. We are naturally or wired to progress, just like the universe expands all the time. If you want to go to quantum physics, not at the moment we want, but we are naturally drawn to progress. That we see that through history. It's who we are, what we are. Let's not even berate that. It is just part of us. But equally, the amount of it, the speed of it, is exhausting. Our brains are not changing. They're the same and they will stay the same. Technology, progress around us, everything is changing. The amount of media, the amount of insights, the amount of inputs per day is not necessarily designed for our little brains. So we are tired and we're in this kind of conflict, right? We want to do all this stuff and we're excited. But I mean, is it just me that, let's say I see all the different tools out there and I'm like, yeah, today I'm going to play with Nano Banana. And then I'm like, after half an hour, I'm sleeping on my chair. You know what I mean? And I have no energy to call my friends. So what's happening? I kind of still want to call my friends. What is going on? So it's just something that I definitely observe everywhere. And I feel like we all, in our own ways, feel it. So is there balance? What is the balance? And if there's no balance, what do we do with the world we live in now that has no balance? Because it ain't stopping.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I think we are just starting. We are just getting started. I think the speed of progress is going to increase. And just a quick ad hoc question here. Do you think, as humans, our brains actually develop resistance to overstimulation, or will they develop an ability to kind of like cut it all off?
I wouldn't know the answer to that. Let's see and ask me in a few years. But the facts are that it's not going to change, and it hasn't changed much. The brain is kind of the same as years and years and years ago. Technology is not, as you just said. But what happens is the brain wants to keep us safe and has a certain capacity of information it can go through in a healthy way. There's amount of energy going through it, amount of blood circulation, amount of oxygen and everything. So there's an amount and a capacity that we are able to have. And that also says, have you slept enough, Wojtek? Have you had enough rest? Is it a morning or is it an evening of your day? So evening is always harder to get any information from anyone, right? You're all a bit like, guys, I need a break. I need to sit in silence for like 3 hours. That's what I'm going to do today after this. So the brain has certain container. But the container that we're surrounded by, it ain't, again, container. It's an open space. It's so exciting. The world that we play in requires us to be aware, to make sure that we know all the tools, to make sure that we know all the innovations, to make sure that our clients know how to take on this new task and new challenge. Everyone wants new and be at the forefront of innovation naturally. So what do we do with this capacity that we have? And there's something around, I think, just, then the conversation might change into how can we shift some things? Is there a way we can, or is it too late? Sometimes I need to sing when I really mean something.
Great answer, thank
you. Could
you.
be too late.
I think the overstimulation and the amount of effort our brains need to put into processing the world, experiencing the world, is increasing even on fronts that are similarly just resistant to change. Take for example just scrolling Instagram, and I've noticed for the last couple of years that more often I start questioning the content I see, whether it's authentic or not. The AI, the generative AI has gotten so good, that it's very difficult now to actually see whether an image you see is real or not. And that is something that has been called the authenticity crisis. Is that something you would like to give us advice on how to deal with as humans?
Very good observation, Wojtek. And yes, somewhere I kind of touched on this as well, that you can pay the biggest bucks for AI ads and they will do okay, they will do well. There will be a bunch of people who will get really excited about this stuff, just like everywhere else. There's people who are excited about gaming, there's people who are excited about movies. There's always going to be that wave of wow, new, shiny, what is going on? But what is happening if you just use the AI, or for the most part, and remove that human attention, messiness, as Microsoft AI CEO has been calling it this year? We want the fuzziness, we want the messiness, we want the awkward, we want the time that it takes to come up with a creative idea or a challenge to be solved. If you get rid of that, if you just put AI in front of people, to your point, what is interestingly happening when I observe the world as well is it's almost like all the Instagrams of the world are slowly shooting themselves in their own foot. Because if you are saying to me, well, I kind of stop believing and kind of actually going waking up, let's call it a bit like a Matrix, guys. I mean, I'm sorry, but if there's any 20-year-old out there and below, do watch Matrix. It should be part of curriculum. Thank you. It changed our lives, right? I mean, the movie literally is what we're experiencing now. Do you want the red pill or the blue pill? Actually, I feel like the chairs are like Morpheus and
yes,
Neo.
they are. That's a very good observation.
I love this. But to your point, if you're stopping to trust it and you're kind of starting questioning, that is only a good thing. Mm-hmm. Because, we just want to kind of slowly, again, talking from the keynote, take back agency. But the issue is the phones and everything, we're so wired in it. It's so easy for us to be habits are so easy for us to kind of develop. It's very hard to stop using these things. It's very hard not to look at the shiny new things. It's just how we're wired. I just bought, again, I'm not sponsored or anything, but I just bought this thing called Brick. So you put on a phone and it stops you from actually using the phone physically. You can sweat, you can cry, you can throw it on the wall. It doesn't work, Or I hear more and more, and that's to the point of connection and, face-to-face engagements. And how are we going to utilize that in the world of branding and advertising and marketing, where people are again seeking connections and in person and smaller? Because why? The trust is a bit broken. I don't want the big and the shiny and all that. I want to trust smaller environments. I'm not sure if what I'm seeing on Instagram is actually true. Is that dog actually, am I laughing at the dog or am I laughing at the algorithm? What the hell am I doing with my day? Suddenly there's those questions, and that's good. It's just the pace of it is still very much and will be slower than what is happening around us. So it is in our agency to try to take it back and wake up a bit from it. And actually, I'm going to quote here, not that we can see it, I hope you can put it, I'll send you a picture. One of my favorite artists called Mr. Bingo, he just created a little artwork. He's very, all observing the world just brilliantly. And he just made a visual of someone with a phone, a hand with a phone, and it said, wasted my life on this or something like this. And I was like, wow. That's literally what a great observation. We're just really wasting too much of our time, but we are so wired in it that I always say it's no one's fault, especially all the parents out here, listen up. It's no one's fault. It's not your fault. It's not your kid's fault. It is, that these technologies are designed to stare at them for hours. So it's a fact. So if we know the fact, how can we slowly, just like addicts of, need to figure out how to stop drinking or smoking or whatever, it's an addiction that we all have in different levels. How can we slowly change that? What needs to be introduced slowly, not painfully, because we don't like pain, to get you to a place where you're like, I might just like maybe call my friend or cook something now. I don't want to like look at this video because I don't even know if that was real. That's good.
But it's easier.
Yeah,
It's easier. And
it's
people
easier.
like easy stuff. People like easy stuff.
We
and
like
this
comfort.
is our vulnerability that is being exploited by people who are led by greed, and the greed is the problem. But then again, greed has always been a problem of human society.
And even yesterday, one of the guests was saying at the gala, I love that quote about we love comfort and nothing wrong with that, but the innovation is not going to happen there. So, but then I go like, but that's the human innovation now we're entering, that renaissance of human innovation then. If we just almost swallow too much of that innovation with tech and AI is again not going anywhere, it might just become slowly like, I'm like, okay, well, AI, but like I'm a bit like overwhelmed and bored. I need some other innovation. And what happens then is people rise without sounding too dramatic, but that human innovation will and is in sparks and moments kicking back in. And I like that. We just need more and at a larger scale. Use all the shiny things, use all the tech. Don't get me wrong. I sit with Nano Banana. I have the best time creating things for clients and for, and creating worlds that I could never imagine, right? Out of my head. But I like the spark of human. I want you guys to get out there and be like, what can I freaking destroy, experiment with? Of course, I'm saying destroy in the most positive way, creative way. What can I create? What can I dismantle? Who can I collaborate with? Who can I call? Should I sit with Wojtek and like 2 other people on a Friday and come up with some stuff? Why not? Why not? Bring the human innovation.
I really like the tone of your opinion. I absolutely agree with, but I really like the tone because what I see there is that you see both ends of the spectrum. You are very aware of of the impending doom. That is just waiting on the horizon, but also you're very aware of the fact that this is what you said during your keynote of the value of taking back the agency. So whether the direction of the so-called progress, actually depends on what do we do with that technology. And we are arriving at the last question I want to ask you. This is the question that I asked to everyone because it's an interesting question. If you had a superpower of removing one technology from our daily lives, from our reality, with a click of a finger and the technology is gone, which technology would you choose?
I love that question. I'm always thinking as well about the clients that we work with and who's going to be upset. But that's not for the purpose of this. And I love you all very much. Thank you for paying our bills. Like without sounding too nostalgic. And even also, I like that question, but I'm going to put a nuance. I always like a bit of a nuance because, again, humans, I almost feel like we would all freak out if something would be suddenly different. So I would say, even if you made the phone disappear for a few hours from our day, like literally physically few hours at least a day from our hands, we would just notice a bit more everything around us, the world, ourselves again. I just fear this lack of any noticing, any regard to the around you world. We are all so glued to this little device. If we forget it, we start crying on the street and run back to take it. And I understand that young people might, younger than us, me and you, not know this world, but Wojtek, were we okay before without a phone?
Absolutely.
Were we able to get to school or to see our friends? Were we able to see our family and arrange things? Were we able to travel?
Exactly.
Wow. And it just I almost want to turn it like, I always think with any communication, don't tell people that they're doing something wrong because they will not engage. If you tell someone they've got a problem and, you should fix it, you should go to a gym, you should lose some weight, you should start this business, you should leave this job, does that usually, happen? Do people go like, thank you, Wojtek, I will do that now? No, they don't. People don't respond to negative energy or opinions. They feel under pressure. So how can we turn this whole, let's call it experiment, curiosity, how can we turn it into a bit of a game? How can we turn it into something actually enjoyable? Is there a space where we can test that out, where we can wake up a bit? And are there ways where not having the phone all the time is cool? Getting to see your friend at the other part of the town without the phone is almost like a little challenge. Can someone make a game? Is there a way that we can gamify this, make it cool again? I would love to see that. I just would love to see us believing, back to the agency, that we actually can leave the house and get to a place without a phone. Or that we can arrange something without a phone. If I say to you, Wojtek, I'll see you at this restaurant at 7, I will be there at 7 and you will trust me. And what happens there without the phone, without the kind of I'm 5 minutes away or whatever, or staring at the phone? If I see you at 7 and we didn't have the phone, how cool would it be? And how the trust between me and you will super rise.
A very good point. Very interesting
in
observation.
In a second,
yes.
Because I promised you I'll be there. And you promised me you'll be there. And if you're not there, I believe and trust that something really happened distressing that you're not there.
Because people sometimes are just late,
of
right?
Course.
And they don't need to, call right away. Hey, I'm going to be late 2 minutes. It's
stress,
2 minutes
stress,
is not being late,
exactly.
really.
And
exactly.
Then what happens, Wojtek, when you're waiting these 2 minutes, instead of staring at your phone that doesn't have anything new at that time of the day at 7, usually there's nothing on it. There's some random LinkedIn post that someone's somewhere by the beach. Okay, cool, but that's boring. Or a cat video that you don't need to stare at. How about observing the restaurant? How about sitting and being hey, this is cool. I've got my drink. I'm cozy. There's a dude playing piano. Wow. How about observing and experiencing the world? Sometimes, I'm not saying all the time. I'm not trying to be here romantic or anything. Hell knows I use my phone as everywhere with me. But are there ways where we can micro introduce that agency, that human part, and build that trust between us? And maybe you'll be I'll come after 5 minutes, I'll be oh, I'm so sorry, Wojtek, I'm here. And you'll be you know what? It was actually fabulous. I just observed this lady, how she's, I don't know, used the utensils or how this food was served. And it got me inspired. Mm-hmm. Whatever. Mm-hmm. Just let's
experiencing
observe.
Life simply as it is, right? Being here. Thank you very much. Very good answer. All of them answers were really good.
Thank you.
And thank you, viewers and listeners, for listening and watching us. And hopefully you got just as inspired as I have just become. Thank you.
Thank you so much.